Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RIFC Nation. For this one, I'm joined by Zach to preview our upcoming match in North Carolina versus North Carolina FC. Before I get started and we start talking about the match, it is worth noting that for those of you watching this on the YouTube channel, you can go on your favorite podcast application and hit that subscribe button, listen to the audio if you ever can't make a live stream. But this is a live stream, so those of you who are listening to this a day or two later on the podcast version, you can always check out the YouTube channel. Anytime it's a live show, the chat is live, so you can come in, ask your questions, get your talking points in there, and have them brought on the stream. We got Scott, aka Mouse. Let's go up the fucking tide. Our UK fan taking the time out from Wales to give us a view. And also, before we get going, if you're not already on the RIFC Club Collector app, go check it out. I'm going to put the link in this description, and you can click that button, enter the code RIFC Nation to get an exclusive pack downloaded to your collection. So let's get started on this one as we're going to preview RIFC at North Carolina FC. I'm sorry. Scott, Zach, how's it going, my friend? Thanks for taking the time out and joining. Give us a few things about yourself and kind of the content you create with everything that is North Carolina soccer.
Yeah, happy to be here. So to start out with, I've been following NCFC since about 2015, back when they were known as the Carolina Railhawks, playing in Nassau. And I've kind of my support has kind of shifted and changed over the years. I've done a couple of podcasts. Right now, I mainly do two major projects. I've got the Carolina Soccer Hub, which takes a look at all the amateur and professional soccer teams across the Carolinas and kind of does an ELO ranking and kind of show people the different what's out there just outside of professional soccer. That there's I think I've got 68 teams right now across the Carolinas that I keep track of. So it's a whole lot. That takes up a lot of my time. But my fun one that we've got right now is starting a new supporters group, or really a rebirth of an old one called Target Strike. It's a drumline supporters group from back pre-COVID. I'm bringing that back, and we got select games that we're going to this year.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. We love the drums here at RIFC, so cool to see you're getting that kind of back up and going. You guys are a very unique club as far as being in the USL Championship this season. Last season's League One champions defeated local rival Charlotte in the finals on penalties, right?
Yeah, and penalties, 5-4.
So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing. Talk about the biggest differences you've kind of noticed between League One and the Championship.
So the biggest differences I've got to say is just the I don't want to necessarily say the quality of play, but there is a step up. I think any given day, a USL League One team can compete with a USL Championship team, but over the course of a season, there is a step up of play from USL Championship to USL League One, and I think that's what we're seeing the hardest time with North Carolina FC right now, is making that adjustment back up to the level of play that is USL Championship.
That's pretty well said. We kind of talked about it before we got started here. I think we're both kind of football purists, if you will, and love the ideal and dream of promotion relegation. And you guys essentially did that. You guys were essentially promoted one League One, and now we're up in the Championship. Do you see that model ever coming to the USL?
It's hard. Yeah, soccer purist in me also wants pro rel. I think it'll never happen between second division and first division. I think that the MLS is just its own thing and will always be its own thing. Whether that happens within USL, I mean, they bring it up every once in a while as a carrot that they throw out in front of us as like, hey, we're talking about this. Do I see it ever happening? If I'm being realistic, probably not. But I really hope it does happen, even if it's some financial pay into the league and drop down, if there's some financial capabilities of it, like kind of like how Mexico was doing it before they canceled it. We could see some Americanized version of pro rel, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I like you said, I'd love to see it. Obviously it'll never happen obviously with the MLS, but I was thinking it seems like the USL has the structure there for it to potentially happen, so it would be interesting to say the least, because the infrastructure is at least there with the three different divisions.
And the big thing is filling out USL League One. That's the first step before anything can
Sure.
have a realistic conversation of this. We're looking at ever since the MLS 2 teams stepped out, it's 12, 14, and then we're looking at potentially up to 20 teams in USL League One going into 2025. And those numbers have got to get up into the 40s before we start having a realistic conversation of breaking that down into regionalized divisions and coming together for an actual pyramid that has pro rel.
That's great. We talked about, we're both kind of excited that Portland, Maine got a team. You have some family up there. I travel there up a lot, so it's cool to see these different cities that not necessarily associated with with MLS teams, but kind of different out of the box cities that are in states even that are getting these teams.
Yeah, and it's got a great name that really steps outside the box of what we're used to. We're used to the European names that are kind of taken over America, and this is really going back to kind of an original Americanized name of Hearts of Pine. It's a kind of cool, and just taking that and just going Hearts SC is a very easy to grasp name.
I actually don't like the name because I watch a lot of the Scottish League, and I'm a Hibernian supporter, and Hibs' big rival is Hearts, so Heart of Midlothian in Edinburgh, and I'm always going to associate that, and it's Portland, and I fucking love Portland, but that's my side piece on the name.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so let's jump into previewing this RIFC at NCFC match. Both of us are in the basement right now.
Yeah.
7 points and 6 points respectively. The same goal differential. You guys have scored one more goal than us, but given up one more. A pretty rough start to the season for you guys so far.
Yeah, it's rough, but the thing that I keep saying and coming up on Twitter is just that the play is better than the results have been. We've scored a couple of own goals and we've given up some bad results. Like the game against Indy, we kept giving up free kicks right outside the box. And just every goal, both goals that they scored off of were from the free kicks right outside the box. And just keep giving up free kicks there. And it's just like sloppy mistakes and just not being secure on the ball is really hurting us. And I think the results are going to come. It's just something hasn't clicked yet.
Right. So one win in the last 5, and that was the Open Cup game versus the Carolina Core. 2-1 loss last time out in Indy. Before that, it was a 3-2 home loss to New Mexico. What would you say the style of play is like? What are we going to see from North Carolina FC, being Rhode Island FC fans?
So far this season, John Bradford has gone for a really high press style of play, really coming out of the gate hard and fast and pressing players to get the ball, hold down possession, and then get the ball out into the corners to play it in for cross plays in.
Gotcha. Good.
Yeah.
All right. You also mentioned starting up another supporters group and getting some drums in there. Talk a little bit about the stadium for anyone that's potentially traveling from Rhode Island to see this one. What's the environment like? What do you guys have for supporters group setups? What's the general game day atmosphere?
Yeah, so the other group, Oak City Supporters, has a tailgate where everybody's welcome to come. My group, Target Strike, set up in this thing called Fan Fest that starts at 6 o'clock, an hour before the game kicks off. And we'll have food truck. There's food trucks, like mechanical bull riding, stuff for the family
Sweet.
to do, things like that. And then we set up and we have giveaways for like noisemakers and cowbells and stuff like that, stickers, stuff for the kids to play the drums for a little bit and kind of get used to and involved in some of the noise making and cheering and stuff like that. Our fans, the supporters, we have 3 groups. They all set up in the south stands, just below the scoreboard. And then they usually have the away supporters set up in the north stands. And they're usually allowed to bring drums and flags and stuff like that. So they're usually pretty welcoming to away fans.
Cool. We have a question in the chat, stadium related. Scott, aka Mouse. What's the food like? You mentioned the food trucks. What's the highlight? What's the must get?
The food trucks are the most get. They've got a couple of like alpaca chicken, stuff like that. Some Peruvian food. The food trucks rotate in. That's really the highlight, is to go to the food trucks because that rotates in. The stadium food's pretty much standard burgers, hot dogs, pretzels, stuff like that.
Gotcha. If you do like Peruvian food, I know we talked before coming on here. You have some family near where the new stadium is going to be. There's an awesome spot in Providence, Los Andes, that is just absolutely killer. So if you do ever come up for an RIFC NCFC match in Rhode Island, make sure you check that out while you're there. I think you'll like it, Zach.
Fantastic. If you guys want to hit up a restaurant before coming in, right down the road from the stadium, there's a spot called Old Time Barbecue. And it's in this like little yellow building. It's like maybe 10 people. It's like the perfect example of like your side of the road southern barbecue place. And it's definitely my recommendation by the stadium.
Sweet. You mentioned NCFC likes to press high. Very much the same here from RIFC. You will see a 3-5-2 as plan A, B, and C, as we kind of joke about on here. With the high press, we like to get it in from the wings and, kind of look for crosses in, although the cross accuracy is not our strong suit right now. How does NCFC fare versus the press?
I don't have a really good answer for this. I feel for the most part, we've done pretty well against the press, but I don't have any good examples of that right there. I didn't watch the game against New Mexico, and then the game against Indy, it was more giving up balls more than the actual press that we just gave away loose balls and giving up free kicks. So I would say that we really haven't had the like high press not concerns, but the high press attack for many of the teams, other than maybe at the start of the season with Charleston Battery, which is like gone insane this season. Looking back, as a very positive point that we took away from the Battery in that game.
I think that's one both of us share right now.
Yeah, and so I'm very happy with that result based on what they did to Las Vegas last week. But I'd say it'll be a very interesting matchup of two very high press teams and teams that are truly trying to figure out their footing here early in the season.
I think that's pretty well said. We got Kevin Callahan in the chat. Kevin says, "What's happening?" Kevin runs a Twitter space every week on Twitter, on X, on RIFC. So you can go follow him. I'll definitely always retweet his stuff. So he has a new episode out. Go check that out for all the RIFC fans. And then we also have a question that'll kind of lead into my next one in the chat from Scott. That who is your most slept on or underrated player? Two-part question. We'll start with that.
Yeah, I think the most underrated player that we're not getting a lot of conversation about right now, and he hasn't started the last two games, but Lamar Batista, he played in the first two games of the season, and he was by far my standout player. We've got a couple of young guys that are getting enough attention that I think they're not being slept on, but I think Lamar Batista is holding up the back line. The games that he played, he's got an incredible stride and has made some incredible saves coming back to get on the ball.
Nice. And the second part of that question is, who is the player you think presents the most credible threat to RIFC?
Yeah, so that kind of puts into the players to watch, and it's really the two forwards that we have.
And I'll even, before you come in, my next question was three players for us to watch, on this one.
Yeah,
so feel free to mush this all together and
we'll just wrap it all together.
There you go.
So depending on if he starts or he's been more as a late game sub for us right now, Olex Anderson was I think the goal scorer for us last year. I think he had the highest goal total. He hasn't he's been benched the last two games over the other player that I would say to watch out for is Placius, who both of those are just zeroed in on the goal right now and can score from pretty much anywhere in the final third. So those are my two like most watch players. And then in the midfield, we have it's between Ezra Armstrong and Bryce Washington. I think those are two kind of the younger players that I think are stepping up right now and are providing really good service in the midfield. That's making that connecting into that final third.
All right, gotcha. If North Carolina FC were to win this match, what would happen? What would need to happen?
I think it's coming out of the gate hard. Just from minute one, pressing the ball, getting control, and then playing our game, which is getting out to the wings and serving it into to the forward, and then earning corner kicks. We've been scoring off of corner kicks
And we've
and
been conceding them.
free kicks off of mainly the say Alex usually plays on the left wing, so it's usually coming off of the left wing. That's our strong side, but we can really play from both sides, and so it's just playing our game and getting there strong and fast, and not conceding early.
I would say, you might have answered it with that, but the caveat of that, if RIFC were to win this match, what happened for North Carolina FC?
Yeah, it's exactly just getting getting NCFC off their front foot early, and then getting down. I think the team's got a lot of a fight to come back and win games. And we've seen that where they've come down and tied a few games, and then had the unfortunate result against New Mexico after tying the game, then giving up that late goal. So I think they have it in them to come back from games, but in order to win is probably better to not dig yourself into that hole in the first place.
Avoiding the slow start would be much more preferred.
Yeah.
Cool. So, before we go on this one, any other final things you want to add to us or let us know about NCFC?
Yeah. NCFC has struggled with attendance for a little bit. I'll just we'll just throw that out there. It's if anybody knows anybody in North Carolina that wants to come out, link them up to Target Strike, and I'll help them find seats and get tickets. Join us at FanFest before we do 1 month a game. We get out there in FanFest and start interacting with casual fans and families to get them used to chants and trying to get them more involved. And I don't know, yeah, it's just everybody have fun and less negativity.
So
Let's all just have fun.
that's it. So Cary is a suburb of Raleigh, correct?
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes outside of Raleigh.
All right, I went down to Raleigh last fall. A friend of mine lives in Charlotte, but he actually just recently finished up his master's at NC State. So we went to the Notre Dame at NC State football game, and I had a blast. Raleigh the night before out in the town. Raleigh was awesome. After the game, like till 2 a.m. Awesome. We went to a brewery there that just had awesome pizza. Victory Brewing, maybe Trophy Brewing, something like that.
Trophy Brewing, yeah.
Yeah, killer. Like really
Yeah.
cool spot. Really cool
Good
area.
spot.
Raleigh,
They've got a couple
Raleighwood,
spots.
right? That's what it goes by.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool spot. So if anyone is traveling, just check it out. I really enjoyed my time down there for sure.
Yeah, and link up with us. Away support's hard to come by in USL Championship. So like if anybody is traveling, reach out to us. The group's Instagram is at Target Strike NC. Reach out to that. If my DMs aren't open for some reason, just tag us and we'll get in contact and meet you all up for a beer before the game, and we'll share some good spots.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I think that's been the cool thing. We've seen a handful of away supporters at each of the RIFC matches so far, and pretty much all of them, with the exception of the Phoenix fans, and they kind of started a weird Twitter beef with us online after the first match. Everyone's come over. The guys from Charleston were great. Come over to our tailgate, had a couple beers, take some pictures, talk shop. So it's been really cool. So my biggest thing, and I know kind of what we talk about a lot on here, is the sense of community, and it's not just amongst our clubs. I think it's when the clubs kind of get together, because like you said, the away support isn't a ton, so the people who are going to away matches just really like soccer, and they'll definitely take some time to talk with you. So I'm glad you definitely you mentioned that, and if you are traveling down there, go link up, go check it out. Should have a good time.
Absolutely.
So before we sign off, we have to do the always, mandatory score predictions. We do a score prediction league in our RIFC Discord, and I usually wait till this episode before I post mine. I'm usually pretty harsh on the boys and get a lot of flack for it, but I'll let you go first and kind of let you know.
Yeah.
where I'm at.
I mean, I think this is going to be a multiple goal type of game. We're both sitting at the bottom, but we both know how to score goals. So I think this is going to go 2-1, and I'm going to put the tilt in favor of NCFC because I have to.
I hear you. My biggest worry is that this one is going to be the Pittsburgh game 2.0 for RIFC, where it's like, oh shit, they're below us. We know we need to try to get 3 points, and we press ourselves too hard. And I know that could very much happened to you guys as well, just with table watching on this one. So I fear a 0-0, but I'm gonna go 2-1 RIFC. I usually don't do this, Zach, and people can definitely that watch the show can probably attest that. But I'm gonna pick an rare RIFC win on here for me.
All right, all right.
But so we both got 2-1. Maybe it'll be 2-1. We'll see what happens. I fear a 0-0. I know
I
you
think
said
it'll be
there's
two.
gonna
I
be
think it'll be
goals.
2-1 no matter what. I don't know which. I really don't know which direction it'll go, but I think it'll be a good scoring game.
Right. It just depends on which one of us is correct. But I hope there's goals. That I just want to see goals. It's a 7 o'clock one start, so you guys get it a little half an hour earlier than we typically do. Going from there. But that's one thing. I just wish these games started a little bit earlier sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So we got a one more question in, and then we'll sign off after we gave our score predictions there. And it's a weird and broad question. But Scott wants to know, what do you feel about the chants for NCFC? Does it compare favorably to any other clubs you follow, or I guess any other clubs you would have heard their chants before?
Yeah. So I stepped away from the other supporters group in 2019, just the season before COVID. And I did a lot of self-reflecting over that time, and been seeing a therapist and kind of go through that. And what I found that I just didn't like was the negativity in soccer chants. And right now
I get that.
there is a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of hate towards refs and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of over it. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted my group to be a little bit separate, going for the same goal of making noise and cheering on the team. But I could do without some of the negativity. And we have a lot of great chants. There's this fun thing that they started that they wanted the team to take over, but then this is getting into the weeds here. So Wake Med Soccer Park was used before it became a soccer park, was used by the Natural Science Museum to prep whale bones before going on display in the museum. And so that group, Oak City supporters, have taken on the dead whales as a moniker for the team, and it's fun, but the team doesn't really like it. So it hasn't really caught on outside of the supporters group, but it makes all the chants that just, instead of saying NCFC, you can say dead whales, and that's fun, and that's a fun and unique experience that you get out of that group.
Yeah, definitely unique. I know there is a lot of negativity, and I think a lot of that just has to do simply with the quality of officials we see from match to match. But we could probably spend a whole nother episode just talking about that. And to bring some negativity to it, my good friend Kevin said, "You skipped my question, tisk tisk," and nothing negative to you guys, but just we kind of talked about it before. People from Rhode Island, people from Massachusetts hate people from Connecticut. I was telling Zach before I read it on the Massachusetts Reddit earlier today, and I have a friend from Connecticut who's now a transplant, and they just said, "Why do you hate Connecticut?" And I was like, "We just do. Like, people hate Connecticut." And Kevin wants to know, why does Hartford suck so bad, and was it glorious beating them?
It's even better than beating them is playing Brass Bonanza when we beat them.
There you go. So yeah, you guys have a big rivalry too. You mentioned it before we signed on with the Whalers as well.
Yeah, so Hartford hates our guts. Because the Hartford Whalers relocated to North Carolina and come to the Hurricanes, who just won the first round of the playoffs, heading to play the Rangers next round. So let's talk a little hockey here.
Yeah, another dig at Hartford.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy with my Hurricanes right now. They're playing really good hockey. But yeah, so Hartford hates us. I would say that rivalry's kind of fallen off a little bit since we stepped away into USL League One, and we didn't see as much hate in the past match that we had with them. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that rivalry heating up again. But I think you'll have some fans in your Hartford Rhode Island match from down in Raleigh.
Yeah, I mean, if there are RIFC fans and it is that 0-0 boring game because we're both pressing for goals, you can just probably unite and chant about the hatred for Hartford, and all will be well in the stadium and symbiotic. But before we do sign off, Zach, tell us again where we can find you across the socials and how people can access what you're doing for North Carolina soccer.
Yeah, so for my mental health, I take breaks on Twitter every once in a while. I'm taking a break right now, but you can find my personal account at 919ZAC, 919Zach. And then you can find all of my stuff for NCFC and the sports group at Target Strike NC on Twitter.
Pretty sweet. Thanks for all that. So make sure you go follow Zach. Go check it out. His database is insane. I found him on Reddit. He just posts nonstop. Like the amount of content he comes up with is absolutely crazy. We do have one last line in there from our guy Sammer 401. Do we have permission to make a version of the Dead Whales banner for the Hartford RIFC Derby?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. There you go, Sammer. You heard it. We'll get on it. We'll get it going. Whalers are dead. Let's take them down. But thanks for taking the time out for joining me, Zach. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah, thanks for all who joined in on the live chat and everyone who either watched this afterwards or on the podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Take a second, click the like button on this video, and we'll be sure to check us out next time. If you hit subscribe on any of your podcasts or this YouTube channel, you can get notifications every time we go live or every time a new episode comes out. Take a second to leave a 5-star rating or review. It just helps more people find the channel, and we connect more people to the club that we love. But thanks again for joining, Zach. I've been your host, Matt. I'll see you next time on RIFC Nation. Up the tide.